What's up, gamers? This is Dave from Tabletop Videos, and today I want to tell you about my favorite game so far this year in 2020. It's currently July, and I've made a little clip for you guys, so let's watch it now. Hal, can you go ahead and roll the clip? Hal? Hal, do you read me?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Can you go ahead and roll the clip?
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What seems to be the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
All right, so let's just go to the table and we'll show you this game. All right, so the game we're talking about today is The Crew. What is The Crew? The Crew is a cooperative trick-taking game for 3 to 5 players. It plays in about 5 minutes to an hour or more. There is a 2-player mode, but we're not going to get into that. It plays very differently than the regular game, so we're just going to skip over that and tell you about the 3 to 5 player mode of this game. The main component of this game is a deck of cards, and this deck of cards basically has 4 colors, all numbered 1 through 9. There is blue, green, yellow, and pink. There's also 4 rocket cards numbered 1 to 4. So how do you play? Well, the game starts with all the cards being dealt out to all the players, and everyone looks at their hand to see who has the 4 of rockets. Whoever has the 4 rockets becomes the commander and gets the commander token.
Look at you, sure. I'm the captain now.
All right, so let's talk about what a trick-taking game is. Essentially, one person is going to play a card to the middle of the table, and that is going to set the color of the card that has to be played by everyone else. Then all the other players in clockwise order will also play a card of that color if they have it. These played cards make up a trick, and whoever played the highest card of the chosen color wins the trick. If a player doesn't have a color when it comes to their turn, they can play a card of a different color, or they can play a rocket. Now, rockets are very special cards that will always win the trick if they're played. If 2 rockets are played, then the highest rocket wins the trick. When a trick has been won, whoever won the trick takes the cards and places them face down and starts the next trick. Here's an example. If I lead with the yellow 5, all other players must play a yellow card if they have one. If they don't, they can play a different card. Then you evaluate to see who played the highest card of the set color, in this case yellow, and that player wins the hand. Even though one player played a 9, because it wasn't the set color, it doesn't win. In this case, the yellow 8 wins. So that's the basics of trick taking, and that's really all you need to understand to play this game. Sounds pretty easy, right?
If only it were that easy.
Well, there's more. Let's talk about missions, which is the first thing that makes this game phenomenal. If you flip over the rulebook, you're going to see a logbook which contains 50 missions. These missions contain tasks that must be completed for the mission to be a success. If the mission is a success, you can move to the next mission, and so on and so forth until you get to 50. Most of the tasks are assigned by this little mini deck of cards, which is basically the same as the big deck of cards, except it doesn't have rockets. The way these works is very simple. In the mission book, when you see a mission with this symbol, shuffle the mini deck and flip over the appropriate number of cards. Then, starting with the commander, the players will choose a card they believe they can win in a trick. For example, let's say that these 3 cards are revealed. The commander has the blue 9 and sees that he does not have the blue 3. That means the commander should be able to win the blue 3 by playing the blue 9, so he chooses the blue 3 as a task he can complete. The next player chooses a mission they believe they complete, and so on until all the tasks are assigned. Play always begins with the commander and continues until all the tasks are complete or until all the cards are played. If all the tasks are complete, kudos to you, you get to shuffle up and go to the next mission and see what that mission is. However, if some of the tasks were not completed, like maybe someone took a card that they weren't supposed to take, that mission's a failure and you're gonna have to shuffle up and restart that same mission. So let's look at what makes the game challenging, just from a mission perspective. So mission 1 is basically the commander is gonna flip over a card from the little mini deck, and that becomes their task. They're gonna have to complete that task. So let's say, for example, that the card they flip over is a blue 6. There's a number of different scenarios depending on what the commander has. First of all, we know he has the 4 of rockets, so that's one way he may be able to win that blue 6. he may have a really easy time because let's say that the commander got lucky, he's got the blue 9 and he doesn't have the blue 6. That's the easiest scenario in the world. All he has to do is play the blue 9. Whoever has the blue 6 will hopefully play it, and then the commander wins the trick, you move on to the next mission. But sometimes it's not always that easy. Sometimes the commander gets stuck with blue cards, but they're all lower than 6. Or the commander might have the blue 6, which is a risky play because if he plays the blue 6 and assumes that everyone else has a lower card, what if the last person that's about to play something only has a blue 9 and they have to play it because you have to follow suit if you can? The commander loses the trick. It's also possible that the commander has absolutely no blue cards. So what then? All of these things is what makes the game very tricky. It's not necessarily, it's not like a strategic type game where you're trying to trick other people because you're all on the same page. So really, you start to think, oh, well, all I have to do is just tell people what I have so I can avoid all those tricky situations, right?
If only it were that easy.
And that's where we get into the second part of the game that makes it just amazing. So one of the big rules in the crew is that you can't talk about specifically what's in your hand. You can't even really hint at what's in your hand. You're gonna know some things, like you'll know that whoever the commander is has the 4 of rockets, but you can't say anything specific about what you can. You can't say what color cards you have, you can't say what your highest number is, but there is a way to communicate, and it's with this little token right here. So this is called a communication token, and what it lets you do is you can take a card from your hand, put it out in front of you, if it meets certain criteria. And basically revealing this card, first of all, tells the people that you have that card, but also if you place the token at the top of the card, it reveals this is your highest card of that color. If you place it on the bottom of the card, it tells you this is your lowest card of that color. If you place it in the middle of the card, it tells everyone that this is your only card of that color, which can be very, very important to know. So by doing this, basically what you're doing is you're letting everyone else know that it's either safe or maybe dangerous to play a certain card or try and complete a certain task. So I would say that communication is probably the absolute most important thing in this game. Knowing when to communicate, not communicating too soon, and knowing what to communicate are all key factors in doing well in this game. So also included with the game are these little tokens, and these tokens come into play when certain tasks are revealed. For example, there's tokens numbered 1 through 5. That means that when you reveal certain tasks, you assign numbers to those tasks as they're flipped over, and those are the order that those tricks need to be taken in. And that can make things more challenging because you can't just try and go for any trick. You have to go for a specific trick first before you go for the second trick and before you go for the third trick, etc. There's also an omega symbol, which means that the task that's assigned the omega symbol has to be won after all the other tasks are completed. There's also these little arrow symbols, which basically mean that they can be won in a specific order, or they need to be won in a specific order, but it gives you a little bit of flexibility in that this task needs to be completed before this task, but this other task that doesn't have the symbol can be won before these tasks or after these tasks. It doesn't have to be won first necessarily. And finally, there are some missions that don't use the task cards at all, and those are some of the most fun because it really makes you work outside the box. This is by far my favorite game of this genre of trick-taking games. It's also my favorite game so far this year. The varying missions, the communication and the way you have to communicate carefully and be efficient and know when to communicate, what to communicate, just the communication aspect and the varying missions. There's 50 missions, so there's a lot of replayability in this game. I've played through the game twice now, all 50 missions with a group of 3 and with a group of 4, and it's phenomenal. I probably see myself doing this again. I'd like to do the ultimate challenge. I think with 5 it gets even tougher because it did get tougher from 3 to 4. I really can't say enough good things about this game. For 15 to 20 bucks you can get this game, and it's if you haven't picked up this game already or you haven't tried it, I think you should definitely give it a shot. If you like this video, please hit the little like button. If you want to see future content, make sure you hit the subscribe and the little notification thing so you'll be notified when I make a new video. That's all for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and go play some games.